So this is Donald Trump's Department of State. They're showing this is our hemisphere. This is their messaging today. This is our hemisphere, and President Trump will not allow our security to be threatened. My first reaction is like 1930s Germany stuff. You can talk about 1930s Japan stuff. Also, basically World War II era, where these countries are just whacked out thinking, okay, we're going to go over and take over our neighbors. This is their messaging. This is our hemisphere from Trump. And then they're talking about building up the military. They're calling it the arsenal of freedom. That's Haig said there. It's like, where did they come up with this crap? America's military will continue to be the strongest, fastest, most powerful military on earth. So they want to put all of your money into military and just taking over the countries and going after the oil. It is so crazy, in fact, that even right-wing people are calling out this nonsense. Look at this. This is Megyn Kelly. She's right-wing. Listen to what she has to say.
When I was at Fox News, which was a long time, 14 years, I would have known exactly what to do in the wake of Trump's attack in Venezuela, his retrieval, shall we say, to put it in mild terms, of Nicolas Maduro. I would have known that I was supposed to cheerlead it. And I turned on Fox News yesterday, and I'm sorry, but it was like watching Russian propaganda. There was nothing skeptical. It was all rah-rah, cheerleading. Yes, let's go.
That's coming from Megyn Kelly, saying basically the Fox News stuff is like Russian propaganda. And when I check out what the Department of State is saying, again, their messaging is this is our hemisphere, and they're supposedly building up their arsenal of freedom is what they're going to call it. Man, stuff's all whacked out. This is Stephen Miller talking on CNN. Listen to the messaging that he's putting out there.
There's going to be some posturing that occurs when a nation has been so thoroughly defeated in this way. The United States of America, think about this, Jake. The United States of America has encircled this nation for months. One of the largest naval armadas in history has been stationed off its coast. Yeah. Fighter jets have been encircling the island. We've been engaging in kinetic lethal strikes against Maduro's drug boats.
Angry nonstop, talking about using our military, armadas, and if you want to watch the whole thing, you can. I showed you a little before. The basic message they're trying to say is, Mike Mate's right. What's your justification? Well, we got a big military, right? And then I guess we're calling it the arsenal of freedom that we want to build up. Now, I want to show you there is some pushback, so don't think that people don't see the crazy crap going on and are doing nothing. This is Senator Ruben Gallego. He says, Trump is on a high from his illegal operation in Venezuela and is bragging about potentially sending our young men and women into more stupid wars of conquest. Greenland could be next. I'm introducing an amendment to make it clear that Congress will not bankroll illegal, unnecessary military action in Greenland just to soothe the ego of a power-hungry wannabe dictator. So again, this is coming through the Senate. Basically, what you can do is you can defund it. Take away the money to spend from that arsenal of freedom. We also have this. I know arsenal of freedom is stupid. I'm just using their language to tell you what they're doing. Trust me, guys. I know that the Trump's moron. I get it. I just want to make sure. Bernie Sanders. He says President Trump does not have the constitutional authority to attack another country. When 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, he should focus on the crisis at home and his illegal military adventurism and stop trying to, quote, run Venezuela for big oil. So again, there's getting a lot of pushback.
Follow her and the security forces would follow her? This is not a serious, it's not even a serious question.
So should there be an election?
Let me, if you give me the floor for 30 seconds, let me tell you what we are doing here, Jake. The United States, this is sort of foundational. The United States is using its military to secure our interests unapologetically in our hemisphere. We're a superpower, and under President Trump, we are going to conduct ourselves as a superpower. It is absurd that we would allow...
These guys are morons. It's like it's a clown car with guns, right? I mean, yes, it's serious, but it's like how can these people go up and say we're a superpower? I mean, I'm showing you guys this stuff. I can't be angry nonstop. Yes, I know this stuff is stupid. I'm watching the same thing you're watching. Yes, I totally know. But then you just watch this stuff. It's like, who goes along with this crap? Even making colors are like, this is Russian propaganda. There is pushback from around the world. They had a emergency meeting at the UN. I want to show you what various countries are saying. Let's take a look at it. So this is coming from the Venezuelan ambassador at the UN.
General Assembly Resolution 2625 establishes that the territory of a state shall not be subject to military occupation as a result of the use of force in contravention of the UN Charter. Allowing such acts to go without an effective answer would amount to normalizing the replacement of law by might, while eroding the very foundations of the collective security system. Today, it is not only Venezuela's sovereignty that is at stake, the credibility of international law, the authority of this organization, and the validity of the principle that no state can set itself up as a judge, party, and executor of the world order are also at stake. Mr. President, we cannot ignore a central element of this U.S. aggression. Venezuela is the victim of these attacks because of its natural resources. Our country's oil, energy, strategic resources, and geopolitical position have historically been factors of greed and external pressure.
Right? So they're basically just calling it out like USA thinks it can bully us because we have, USA has military trying to threaten us, these kind of things. This threatens not just Venezuela, but the world. And effectively, USA just wants the oil, right? You can hear it there directly from Venezuela. I also want to show you other points of view. This is actually coming from China.
Posing a grave threat to peace and security in Latin America and the Caribbean, and indeed internationally. China firmly opposes this, and the international community has also expressed widespread grave concern and strong condemnation. We urge the U.S. to heed the overwhelming voice of the international community, abide by international law and the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, cease infringing upon the sovereignty and security of other countries, stop toppling the government of Venezuela, and return to the path of political solutions through dialogue and negotiations. We call on the U.S. to ensure the personal safety of President Maduro and his wife and to release them at once. We support the Council in fulfilling its primary responsibility to maintain international peace and security, and we support all efforts by the UN Secretary General, regional countries, and organizations that contribute to promoting dialogue and de-escalating the situation. President, the lessons of history are a stark warning. Military means are not the solution to problems, and the indiscriminate use of force will only lead to greater crisis. The U.S. bypassed the Council to launch military operations against Iraq, blatantly attacked Iran's nuclear facilities.
It is a crazy situation to where, we're looking for China to be the sane people in the room. I mean, that's where we're at. And I just want to remind you again, this is the message from the United States right now. That's their messaging, right? So this is what everyone is reacting to. And again, they attacked Venezuela. That's why it's like even Megyn Kelly's calling this stuff out. Like I turn on Fox News, it's all Russian propaganda. I just didn't think we would see this period. It's hard to explain. Like, I grew up in USA. I teach international relations in university, and my meeting when I was watching this, I was thinking about Cuban Missile Crisis, and we would send our people to the UN to call out the Russians. Basically, is what we're doing, and like now it's like being reversed. Where like China and Russia are coming to the UN to call us out. It's just unbelievable. I'm in shock because I understand the gravity of the situation. I get upset. I get angry. And it shows how we've really lost our place in the world. There's no way you can defend this kind of rhetoric of Trump. That's why I'm just showing you guys what it looks like.
Colleagues, the United States successfully carried out a surgical law enforcement operation facilitated by the U.S. military against two indicted fugitives of American justice, narco-terrorist Nicolas Maduro and Celia Flores. Colleagues, Nicolas Maduro is responsible for attacks on the people of the United States, for destabilizing the Western Hemisphere, and illegitimately repressing the people of Venezuela. As Secretary Rubio has said, there is no war against Venezuela or its people. We are not occupying a country. This was a law enforcement operation.
So he's going to try to make the case. You just heard it right there. This is a law enforcement operation is the case they're going to try to make. The same way that if you want to talk about, the Vietnam, when they called it a conflict for a long time, was it a police action is what they were claiming. Yet, remember the whole goal here is, so I show you this is our hemisphere stuff. Trump wants to send the oil companies down there to go get the oil and send the troops there to go protect said oil. That's what the plan is. And then they talk about, running the country. And then they play word games with you guys. Oh, and this is a law enforcement operation, what they say.
There is no and can be no justification for the crimes cynically perpetrated by the United States in Caracas. We firmly condemn the U.S. act of armed aggression against Venezuela in breach of all international legal norms. In connection with the confirmed reports about the presence of the abducted president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and his spouse in the United States.
Now, I don't like Russia very much. I just want to make it clear on that. But it's crazy when they're... What it ends up being is that the USA loses their moral ground if they're going to try to tell other countries what to do when we're basically doing this kind of stuff again. We're kidnapping a president of a foreign country, bring it back to the USA, claiming that we're running said country and elections aren't really that important, right? USA trying to figure out, okay, how can we get the oil? Who's going to be the best to help us facilitate get the oil? That's sort of what in the U.S. interest right now is what they're trying to do. It's all sick. And then I'm just showing you guys different pushback on this stuff. This is coming from Cuba. They were saying before that they had 32 Cuban nationals killed.
The US military attack against Venezuela has no justification whatsoever. It does not respond to any provocation, nor does it possess legitimacy. It is based on the aberrant doctrine of peace through force and undermines the stability and peace that have characterized our Latin American and Caribbean region for years. It seeks to promote a change in the constitutional order of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, freely chosen by its people. Its ultimate objective is not the false narrative of combating drug trafficking, but control over Venezuela's land and natural resources, as has been openly and shamelessly declared by President Trump and his Secretary of State. This is an imperialist and fascist aggression with objectives of domination that seeks to revive the US hegemonic ambitions over our America, anchored in the outdated Monroe Doctrine.
And so where we're at right now is, just from a regular person's perspective, right? I just want regular people to be able to live in peace, to be able to pursue happiness for their people. I'm just, talking in general terms. I think it's pretty reasonable to say. And I understand that, you could argue Maduro is not the rightful president, that he lost the election and he wouldn't, give up power and you should hand it over to the opposition party, hold another election, these kind of things, right? But that's not the discussion that the U.S. is having right now. The U.S. just keeps talking about, hey, we're going to run things, go for the oil and that kind of stuff. So, it gets complicated because I don't want to ever give the impression of like, oh, I'm totally telling you that you have to believe everything that Russia says or China or Cuba or Venezuela. I'm not saying that. I want to make that clear. The same way I'm not saying you have to believe everything that the USA says. You have to take all this stuff in and also just look at what people's actions are, right? So actions speak much louder than words. And the action that the U.S. took, we killed as many as 40 to 80 people, has been the reports. We, kidnapped the president of Venezuela and his wife. And now we're trying to put him on trial, which may take a year. And so basically it's going to be a big media circus. Trump's poll numbers are absolutely abysmal. He's got several scandals. You want to talk about the Epstein thing, you can. If you want to talk about crypto crap, you can. If you want to talk about destroying the White House, building his old ballroom thing, you can. If you want to talk about his family going after government contracts or, Trump and the whole bribes and pardon stuff. You want to talk about the Elon Musk thing, and the list goes on, right? The guy's a felon. Trump's a felon. And then you put out these kind of messaging, and on top of that, he's completely incompetent, physically and mentally, not well. It's obviously to see all this kind of stuff, and this is where we're at. And there's a real sickness right now in USA to where too many people are apathetic and they don't pay attention to this stuff. And the reason why your life doesn't get better in the USA is because you're spending all this resources on these kind of things. Instead of investing in your own people, you're spending all this time and energy putting your people to go take over Venezuela. And that's why if you ever have an argument with your MAGA friends, because I'm sure people do, because people come and say, and say, "Guy, I got MAGA people in my life," and how do I convince them? Some people say, I do want to be frank also, some people saying that, long time, I've been seeing comments that they'll say, like, I know a long time MAGA person who's, old guy, always vote Republican or whatever, but finally just won't, do it anymore. I think some people are either not going to show up to the polls for Republicans or, vote blue. It's certainly a possibility. I think it's a higher chance of not showing up. But, essentially, I think what Trump and why it's getting so whacked out, they know their time is short, right? They just have this last year before midterms come, before Trump becomes a serious lame duck, and they're trying to just throw the kitchen sink at every, ridiculous Project 2025 thing that they've wanted to put in. And I'm just leaving this up here. This is our hemisphere thing because it is sick. And when you see what's going on, that's why I felt, just frank, I felt deep sorrow. I would talk with my students. We would talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis thing, right? And ultimately that was a situation to where people really thought they were on the brink of World War III. It was really serious. I actually had a professor back in the day. He was on a Navy ship at that time when they were trying to do the blockade. And it was much closer than people realize. And for those of you who are old enough to remember that era, and ultimately, cooler heads prevailed. They made a backdoor, channel deal. It was about moving assets around, if I remember the scenario correctly. But in this situation, what's going to get it to get Trump and the people to back down? The problem is like it's a different situation now than then. You can disagree with former policies of the U.S. in the past. Totally fair assessments, right? What we're witnessing right now is Trump and Musk came in, because you have to put this all in context, and basically pushed out our most experienced people, be it in intelligence, be it in the military, all facets of our government and society. They're pushing out, good people, patriots. I'll be frank with you guys. There are some jobs, or many jobs, or every job, however you want to call it, that just aren't political. You're just there to serve the people. How about this? I'll put it in most basic terms. Like if Trump says, okay, I want you to lie about the data on unemployment numbers, right? And you're like, I'm not going to lie about the data on unemployment numbers, like that kind of stuff, right? Or, hey, I want you to slow walk Social Security, these kinds of things. I just want to put it in the most basic terms. There's people's jobs out there, Americans who's like, hey, my job is I'm at the VA, I help veterans, that's my job, and you want to create a society like when everything breaks down, when you start putting people under pressure and saying you're not wanted in our society, we don't want you to help veterans, we don't want you to help people who want Social Security or need Social Security, right? Who are applying for it, we're going to slow walk that, we're going to underfund all the programs. It's like, and all the money then goes to the military, and then effectively what it ends up being, you have a dystopian kind of world to where the only opportunities is either being a police officer to quell protest, internally, or join the military to go conquest abroad, and then you create this eternal, forever never ending war. Sorry, I'm trying to be as clear as I can. I'm just really upset right now. I just want to make it clear, but it's very dystopian, right? And so you always create an enemy that people have to fear or whatever. But the reality is, the most basic terms, you'll have no electricity, no food, no job. But I guess you have some dear leader to celebrate. In today's world, you could just look at what's happening, say, in North Korea. The regular people are just in terrible shape, starving, just perfectly frank. And that's kind of, will the U.S. go to that dire of a situation? Not necessarily, that great, but I just want you to understand that's what they're pushing for. We destroy all the institutions and put everything in the military and the police and just focus on arresting your neighbors. It's not good. That's why you're seeing so much pushback on this stuff. So don't think that no one's pushing back. This is all in public, and this is why it's so important to understand history and have people who are willing to have honest discussions on these things. I can swear and I can kick and scream as much, and I always mention that stuff because I don't think of my fellow Americans as being my enemy. Okay, I want to make that really clear. I don't. I want to build bridges, not burn them. And we need more people to realize, our neighbors, our fellow citizens are not bad people. Like we need good leadership to bring people together. you know? And my opinion on this stuff is there's a lot of problems facing society, 100%, that if we, you know, bring people together for, okay, how can we work as a nation to solve said problems so that we can all, you know, better ourselves, that's better for all of us. But the way the Trumps and the Musk want it is more like they're going to grab all the resources and make everyone else fight over scraps, and you don't realize what's happening. I can see it on a daily basis, and I knew Trump was bad. And that wasn't a mystery, but I didn't think it would be this bad. I really didn't. I didn't want it to be this bad, but literally we're faced with it right now, and this is a really big turning point in history. If Trump's going to start ordering the military to, you know, invade whatever countries, which is, it's the whole thing is just absolutely crazy. In a you know, normal situation, people are just like, whoa, I'm not doing that, you know. The problem is you got like this Republican Party, there's a bunch of lapdogs, and their history is not going to look kindly on any of these people. And don't kid yourself if you're in the MAGA people, if you think Trump is a good guy. Don't kid yourself. You are implicated in this stuff fully. If you know, to say, oh, I was just following orders. So that's my thoughts on this stuff, guys. Sorry I get upset and sometimes, you know, speak a little bit unclear. I try my best. I just tell you what I'm thinking and show you the best I can of what's going on. And I'll catch you on the next video and keep you updated.